Have you ever wondered why some people seem to bend reality to their will while you're stuck watching life happen to you from the sidelines? What if the difference between them and you isn't luck, privilege, or some secret knowledge they possess, but rather a dimension of consciousness you haven't accessed yet? Right now, in this very moment, you're operating as a limited version of yourself, experiencing only a fraction of the power you were designed to wield, the God state. I'm about to reveal to you isn't some new age fantasy or spiritual bypassing. It's the actual mechanism through which reality responds to consciousness. And once you understand how to access it, everything you thought was impossible becomes inevitable. Has this ever happened to you? You set goals, work yourself to exhaustion, follow all the conventional wisdom about success and manifestation. Yet somehow you keep ending up in the same place. Different day, different struggle, same underlying reality. You're like a prisoner who's been given the key to their own cell, but doesn't recognize it because you've been conditioned to believe the lock is on the outside. The truth is far more disturbing and far more liberating than anything you've been told. You're not living in a fixed reality that you must adapt to. You're living in a reality that's adapting to you, to the frequency you're broadcasting from a level of consciousness most people don't even know exists. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Most people spend their entire existence trapped in the third dimension, perceiving reality through their five senses alone, convinced that what they see, touch, and measure is the totality of what's real. But your senses are lying to you. They're showing you effects while keeping the cause hidden. Every circumstance you're experiencing right now, your bank account, your relationships, your health, your opportunities, these aren't random events happening to you. They're precise reflections of an internal state you've been unconsciously maintaining. You've been operating from a dimension of powerlessness, not because you lack power, but because you haven't learned to access the dimension where that power actually resides. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover will fundamentally shatter the way you understand creation itself. Beyond the world your physical eyes can see exists a fourth dimension, a space outside linear time where your true identity as a conscious creator exists. This is the God state, not a state you achieve through meditation or rituals or years of spiritual practice, but a dimension of reality that's been waiting for you to recognize it. In this dimension, time doesn't work the way you think it does. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously as one eternal now, and every possible version of your life is already completed, already real, already waiting. What you're about to learn is how to consciously select which version you experience, and why that selection has nothing to do with effort and everything to do with understanding the mechanics of consciousness itself. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this God state actually represents, because understanding its true nature changes everything about the decisions you make from this moment forward. Picture a library that exists beyond physical space, a dimension where every book on every shelf represents a complete timeline of your existence. But here's what separates this from mere philosophy or abstract thinking. These timelines aren't potential futures waiting to be created through hard work and sacrifice. They're finished films, complete from opening scene to final credits, all existing right now in a dimension your physical senses can't detect. The version of you living in abundance is there. The version struggling with the same problems 5 years from now is there. The version who made that critical decision differently and watched their entire reality shift is there. All of them real, all of them accessible, all of them waiting for you to tune into their frequency. This isn't speculation. This is the hidden truth about how consciousness interacts with reality at the most fundamental level. You're not building your future brick by brick through linear time. You're selecting which pre-existing film to experience based on the state of being you're currently inhabiting. Every thought you repeat, every belief you maintain, every emotion you dwell in, these aren't just affecting your mood or mindset. They're the tuning mechanism that determines which timeline you're stepping into moment by moment. The impact of understanding this framework cannot be overstated. Your entire journey up until now has been about trying to change effects while remaining blind to the cause operating behind the scenes. If you're drawn to content that explores the hidden mechanics of reality and consciousness, subscribe to the channel. This is where we reveal the truths that most people never discover because they're too hypnotized by the surface world to look deeper. But here's where things get interesting and, honestly, a bit uncomfortable. This transformative knowledge hasn't been hidden by accident. There are systems, institutions, and power structures that have benefited enormously from keeping you focused on external solutions to internal problems. A person who discovers they are the sole creative power in their own reality becomes ungovernable. They stop buying products that promise to fix them. They stop seeking validation from authorities who claim to know better. They stop participating in a game rigged to keep them dependent, consuming, and compliant. A society built on endless consumption and obedience cannot survive if its members realize they possess God-level sovereignty over their own experience. The revelation that you don't need anything outside yourself to access this power, that terrifies every structure that profits from your sense of limitation. The systems you've been taught to trust since childhood require you to believe in your own powerlessness. They need you convinced that change comes from outside, that transformation requires their permission, their products, or their approval. But the moment you access the God state and recognize that every version of your life already exists, waiting for you to claim it through a shift in consciousness, those structures lose their grip. Write in the comments, "I see through it now," if this is starting to make sense, because what comes next reveals exactly how this selection process actually works. The reason most people never break free from their circumstances is because they're operating in a hypnotic trance they don't even recognize. Think about how your morning unfolds. You open your eyes, and within seconds, your mind automatically scans through the same inventory of problems. The bills that need paying, the relationship that isn't working, the body that doesn't look the way you want, the career that feels stuck. And you're not consciously choosing these thoughts. They're running on autopilot, a pre-programmed loop that's been playing for so long, you've mistaken it for reality itself. Your attention becomes completely absorbed in the external world, in the symptoms, in the effects that are playing out on the screen of your life. And you're fighting them, negotiating with them, trying desperately to rearrange them into something more acceptable. But here's what you're missing. Shadows on a wall have no power of their own. They're not the source of your experience. They're reflections of a light you've been ignoring, a light that exists within your own consciousness. The entire human journey has been this exhausting battle with effects while remaining completely blind to the cause operating behind the scenes. We try to change our circumstances without changing the state of being that's generating those circumstances in the first place. We want different results while maintaining the same internal frequency. Breaking this trance isn't about plastering positive affirmations over negative beliefs or pretending everything is fine when it's clearly not. Those are just more strategies of the limited mind, more attempts to rearrange the shadows. What I'm talking about is a disciplined, deliberate transformation in how you allocate your attention. It's a conscious withdrawal from the world of problems and a focused placement of that attention on the solution that already exists in another dimension of reality. Because here's the revelation that changes everything. Your consciousness isn't confined to the three-dimensional world your physical senses perceive. Your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch. They're all designed to filter reality down to a narrow band of perception so you can have a focused human experience. But in doing so, they're hiding the bigger picture from you. There exists a fourth dimension beyond this physical realm, and it contains something extraordinary. The entire spectrum of time as one complete, existing whole. Think of it like a film strip where every single frame from the opening scene to the final credits exists simultaneously in the same moment. Your experience of time passing, of moving from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday, awe of aging from year to year, that's simply your consciousness moving along one of these film strips, illuminating one frame at a time, and calling it now. Every decision you make, every thought you entertain, every emotion you choose to dwell in, it's all functioning as a tuning mechanism. You're not creating these timelines through your actions. You're selecting which pre-existing film strip to experience based on the frequency your consciousness is broadcasting. Drop "I'm tuning in the comments if you're beginning to see how this framework completely redefines what's actually possible in your life. Because understanding this dimensional structure is just the beginning of learning how to navigate it consciously. Hit the like button if you felt that shift while watching this. It's a simple action that helps this message reach others who are ready to break free from the illusion. What most people don't realize is that you're operating with two completely different modes of perception, and the one you've been relying on your entire life is the one keeping you trapped. Your natural focus is what you're using right now to process these words, to navigate your physical environment, to make sense of the world through your five senses. This is your survival mechanism, the part of you that learned to analyze past experiences, to predict future outcomes, that measures and calculates and tries to keep you safe from danger. It's an incredibly useful tool for basic functioning, but it has a fatal limitation. It's completely trapped in linear time. It can only perceive what already exists physically, or what's already manifested in the three-dimensional world. It mistakes the shadows for the substance, the effect for the cause, the screen for the projector. But you have another mode of perception that's been massively misunderstood and underutilized. Your spiritual focus is what most people dismiss as imagination, as if it's just daydreaming or fantasy with no real power. This couldn't be further from the truth. Your imagination is the actual workshop where reality is first assembled before it appears in physical form. It's your fourth-dimensional sense, the part of you that can perceive timelines that don't yet exist in your current physical experience. Through imagination, you can visit realities that are complete and finished in the fourth dimension, but haven't yet materialized in the third. This is the journey from powerlessness to sovereignty, learning to consciously shift from your natural focus, which only sees effects and limitations, to your spiritual focus, which accesses the realm of cause where all timelines originate. The transformation happens when you understand the mechanics of how you actually move from one timeline to another. Most people think desire is enough. They want something, they feel the longing, they visualize it occasionally, and then wonder why nothing changes. But desire is only the compass. It points you toward a specific film strip in the infinite library, signaling that the reality you're yearning for already exists as a completed fact in the fourth dimension. Your desire isn't random. It's confirmation that somewhere in the cosmic vault, that version of your life is waiting. But desire alone doesn't transport your consciousness there. It just shows you the destination. The actual engine that moves you from one timeline to another is something entirely different. Assumption, not hope, not wishing, not positive thinking or repeating affirmations you don't believe. Assumption is a complete shift in your state of being. It's the act of mentally and emotionally occupying the reality where your goal is already achieved, where the wish is already fulfilled, where the transformation has already occurred. You're not pretending or faking it. You're accessing the version of yourself that already exists in that timeline and inhabiting their consciousness. When you sustain this inner state with discipline and consistency, something extraordinary happens behind the scenes. Then you begin impressing a new truth upon your subconscious mind, which is the actual creative force orchestrating your physical experience. Type, "I choose assumption" in the comments if you're ready to understand how this impression process actually works. Because what comes next is the precise technique that makes all of this operational instead of just theoretical. The difference between people who successfully shift timelines and those who remain stuck comes down to precision. You can't access the God state with vague intentions or scattered focus. You need surgical clarity about exactly which film you're selecting from the vault. Most people sabotage themselves before they even begin because they don't define their objective with enough specificity. If they want more money or better health or a good relationship without knowing the exact destination they're traveling to, the subconscious mind doesn't respond to abstraction. It needs a clear target, a specific end result that you can anchor your consciousness to. Here's the technique that actually works. You construct a brief scene in your mind, but not of the process or the journey, of a moment that takes place after your wish has already been fulfilled. This is critical. You're not imagining yourself receiving what you want. You're imagining a moment that implies it's already done, already yours, already your living reality. Maybe it's a conversation where someone congratulates you on the outcome. Maybe it's a quiet moment of satisfaction in your new circumstances. Maybe it's simply the feeling of normalcy that comes from having lived in that reality for a while. Keep this scene short and simple, something you can loop easily without mental strain. The most powerful time to do this work is during that drowsy state between waking and sleep, what's called the hypnagogic state. In this twilight zone of consciousness, your analytical mind quiets down, your critical filter dissolves, and the door to your subconscious swings wide open. This is when the barrier between your conscious intentions and your subconscious programming becomes thin enough to cross. You enter your predetermined scene in the first person, not watching yourself from the outside like a movie, but experiencing it directly through your own eyes. Feel what you would feel, hear what you would hear. Notice the details with vivid sensory precision. Loop this scene over and over, allowing yourself to sink deeper into the reality of it, until something shifts inside you, until you feel a genuine sense of relief or satisfaction, a quiet inner knowing that whispers, "It's done." Then, and this is where discipline comes in, you drop it completely. You don't anxiously search for evidence the next morning. You don't keep checking to see if it's working. You trust the impression has been made. But here's where the real test begins, and this is where most people fall apart. Once you've accessed the God state and selected your timeline through this technique, you now have to live in two worlds simultaneously. You're maintaining an inner world where your wish is already fulfilled, where you're already inhabiting that new reality, while navigating an outer world that hasn't caught up yet. Your physical senses will bombard you with evidence that directly contradicts everything you've impressed upon your subconscious. The bank account still shows the same numbers. The relationship still has the same problems. The body still looks the same. And your mind will scream at you that none of it worked, that you were just fantasizing, that nothing has changed. But these external conditions are not the truth. They're shadows, echoes of your past assumptions still playing out. Because there's a time lag between selecting a new timeline in the fourth dimension and watching it materialize in the third. Leave "I'm holding the vision" in the comments. If you understand that this loyalty to your inner reality, even when everything external denies it, is the bridge between where you are and where you're going. This is the moment where you have to make a decision that will define everything that follows. You can continue believing that your circumstances are caused by forces outside yourself. The economy, other people's decisions, your childhood trauma, bad luck, timing, whatever excuse feels most comfortable. Or you can accept the hidden truth that's been operating behind the scenes of your entire existence. Your consciousness is the only cause of everything you're experiencing, not partially responsible, not influenced by. The sole creative power generating every aspect of the reality you perceive. Every person you encounter is reflecting back to you an aspect of your own internal state. Every condition you face is a projection of beliefs you've accepted as true somewhere in the depths of your being. Every event that unfolds in your life is a symbol, a manifestation of the frequency you've been broadcasting from within. The impact of this realization is both liberating and absolutely terrifying. It's liberating because it means you hold complete creative power over your experience. No one is doing anything to you. Nothing is happening to you. It's all happening through you, from you, as an extension of your own consciousness. But it's terrifying because you can't blame anyone anymore. There's no external enemy to fight, no villain in your story, except the unconscious assumptions you've been maintaining. No savior coming to rescue you from circumstances you now realize you've been generating yourself. This is radical responsibility at a level most people aren't willing to accept. Your task now becomes incredibly simple, but brutally difficult. You must persist in the assumption you've impressed upon your subconscious, even when every external fact seems to deny it. When the evidence contradicts your new reality, when people tell you you're delusional, when your own mind presents you with 1,000 logical reasons why it won't work. This persistence isn't stubbornness or denial, it's loyalty to a dimension of truth that exists beyond the physical senses, beyond the surface appearance of things. It's faith in the unseen reality you've selected from the God state, knowing that the physical world must eventually conform to the inner world you're maintaining. Oh, but here's where everything I've been telling you leads to an ultimate revelation that changes the entire framework. The God state isn't some separate dimension you access like entering a room. You are not reaching for something outside yourself. You are the God state. You are the consciousness that contains all possibilities, all timelines, all potential realities within itself. The infinite library isn't somewhere else. It's the very fabric of your own awareness. You are the awareness that imagines a reality and then steps into it to experience its own creation. The entire world you see around you, every object, every person, every circumstance, it's all you pushed out, objectified, made visible through the filter of your dominant assumptions. When you truly accept this, something fundamental shifts in how you move through existence. Like, you stop reacting to circumstances as if they have independent power over you. You start recognizing them as mirrors, perfect reflections showing you exactly what you've been assuming about yourself and reality. You move from being a passive effect, tossed around by external forces, to being the deliberate first cause, the conscious God creator, selecting which version of reality to experience in every moment. Comment, "I am the cause," if this truth is beginning to settle into your bones. Because understanding this intellectually is vastly different from living it, and that distinction is where the real transformation occurs. If you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. Most people scroll past content like this within the first 30 seconds because it challenges everything they've been conditioned to believe about reality, about power, about what's actually possible. But you stayed. You listened. You allowed these ideas to penetrate deeper than surface-level understanding, and that tells me something important about where you are in your journey. You're ready for this level of truth. The work we're doing here on this channel isn't about quick fixes or motivational fluff that makes you feel good for 5 minutes and then fades away. It's about revealing the operational mechanics of consciousness, the hidden frameworks that govern reality itself. This is just one piece of a much larger puzzle we're assembling together. If you want to continue exploring these concepts, if you're drawn to content that goes beyond what the mainstream will tell you, subscribe to the channel. This is where we dive into the truths that remain invisible to most people. If something shifted in you while watching this, if you felt that quiet recognition of truth when you heard it, let me know by dropping a comment saying, "This message was meant for me." I read every single one. There's something powerful about declaring your recognition when you encounter knowledge that's been waiting for you to find it. And if this resonated, hit the like button. It's a simple action, but it helps this message reach others who are ready to discover what's been hidden from them. There's a video right here that takes what we've covered today and applies it to something most people get completely wrong: the relationship between identity and reality. Click and continue with me over there, because what you're about to learn builds directly on everything you just discovered.